different gear to bring, what not to bring, what you want to bring, all that.
Yeah, the hiking challenges, because they utilize these smaller mountains there. I mean, that's exactly what they're good for. They're good
Yeah,
to dial in hiking, learn what you need to learn. Because like for example, you hike Mount Joe, and it's a short little mile hike, but there's at least a quarter of a mile that is identical to any steep section in the high
oh,
peaks.
totally.
So it's like you get to understand what you're going to get yourself into, but it's short. So it's like, okay, how did you do going up that small section? You did pretty good. You could have gone further, or it made you want to die and you couldn't have gone further. It's like, okay, great. Now I know. So I'm not ready to go tackle Mount Marcy, but maybe I'll go tackle Mount Van Hovenberg next, or just something. They're great too, and the
Yeah.
views on the smaller mountains, in my opinion, are absolutely incredible because you're up there still looking at the bigger mountains.
Oh
Fantastic.
yeah. Yeah. Um, so with all that said, I definitely got way too ambitious when I first started out. Like I thought I could use like a crazy amount of PTO, go take 2 weeks off from work and go hike like 7 or 12 days in a row, no problem. And thought I could do way more than I was capable of. So like for example, like my second hike ever out in the Adirondack High Peaks, I wanted to do the Great Range Traverse, but not just the Great Range Traverse. Like I wanted to
Oh
start it
boy.
from, yeah, I wanted to start it from Sawteeth, go up to Gothics, over Saddleback, Basin, and Haystack, and then all the way back down to St. Hubert's, which isn't even really the full Great Range Traverse, but that's what I wanted to do for my second high peak hike. And like saying that out loud and like knowing what all that entails is like,
It makes you
you're
laugh a
nuts.
little
Like,
bit now.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I remember too, like leading up to that, I Facebook messaged the Adirondack Mountain Club a lot, and I asked them about that, and they were like, "John, we highly recommend that you do not do that."
Sure.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So
Um,
if you're not familiar with those high peaks, it's they're going making that what he just said your second hike is just completely bananas. It would
yeah.
not be an appropriate second hike for
No.
anybody.
Maybe somebody that's like used to doing ultras, but like no way for your second
Sure.
hike. No, don't. Um, so thankfully it was like I decided to change it up on our way up Sawteeth. Um, and it was raining like really lightly that day, and it was about 50 or 60 degrees when we first started, and I think it stayed at that temperature the whole day. So it wasn't crazy uncomfortable, but then like on top of the mountains, it could have been like a 10 or 20 degree difference. But no views at all. So yeah, I definitely got to go do those ones again. Like I hear how great Pyramid and Gothics are, so
Hmm.
I can't wait to go do those ones again. Um, and we
So this
did,
is your second hike, and you were going to do that. It's not the Great Range Traverse, but you were going to hit that Great Range hike, and then but when you got there, you decided to change it. Is that what you're
yeah,
saying? Okay.
that was it was like yeah. So just goes to show like how uneducated I still was
Sure.
after studying for like a month. That was October 11th, 2018, and it was we were getting done with Lower Wolfjaw when it started getting dark. It was probably 6 or 6:30 p.m. And I was like, okay, we should probably start putting on our headlamps now. Um, and we take our packs off. I unzip and everything and put my headlamp back on. And then when I looked up, I had no idea where the trail was. It was like the darkness barely changed at all, but I don't know what had happened. We were like had no idea what was going on.
The woods
So we
coming
st-
down from Lower Wolfjaw too. It's hardwood forest, very open,
yeah,
so it's definitely the type of spot where it's easy to lose it. You take one step to the right, one step to the left, and the woods all look the same. But then if you take
hmm
that other step, it's like, okay, there's the trail. So yeah, definitely easy to lose it in that
yeah,
spot.
yeah. So I brought out my map and everything, and I see how far away, and like I had my phone mapped GPS out. I didn't have. I like to use all trails a lot. I know some people frown upon all trails, but I like to use it. But I didn't have it at the time. I had no idea what it was. But I opened up the GPS on my phone, and I could see that my car. We were probably like 2 miles or so away from my car. Um, but we were still high up in elevation, and looking at the map and like relative to where we were on GPS on my phone maps, um, I could see we were like a little bit away from Rainbow Falls. And then like if we just kept following that stream down, maybe we could like cross the road. I need to get back to St. Hubert's and everything. And we had a bit of, we had enough of getting smacked in the face. We started bushwhacking and we just had enough of getting smacked in the face by the trees and everything. So we had to call a ranger and ask us for some help on how to get out of there. And yeah, we were lucky. We were very lucky to get out. It was probably like midnight. We got back to the
Wow.
car.
And did they have to come get you to get you out, or did they talk you back to the trail?
They first talked us back to the trail, but my friend and I was comfortable with it. So I was like, yeah, I mean, if you guys don't mind, like having somebody come try and find us and like, I don't know, like help us get out of there. But like they said, yeah, just follow the stream down and somebody will come and like, I don't even know when it was, maybe like a half hour or so later, we see a bright headlamp and were able to help us get out of there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I bet you look back on that now thinking, and it's like, it's so wild when you think back to when you first started hiking the high peaks versus now after you finished hiking the high peaks, and it's like how your perspective of what they are shift, and you like really start to get it, and you start to kind of understand. And it's always fun to look back at when you first started, and you used to think differently, and everything was so different. Whereas now you look back, and it's like hard not to kind of like shake your head at yourself for things that you did. And of course and you and I have talked about this. That is part of the whole journey. That's why I always call it a journey, a 46'er journey, because you're not just hiking high peaks. You're not just hiking 46 different mountains. It is a whole journey, start to finish, and you change throughout that journey, and you start to get it, and you start to understand what the high peaks are, which is why one thing, it bums me out when like people are starting to hike the high peaks and they ask these questions, or it's obviously that they're, a bit green and new at this, and then people will just eat them alive, when it's like everyone has been at that exact same spot, and everyone who's finished knows how they were when they first started. And then by the time you're done, like you just have so much more clarity as to like what these mountains are, who these mountains are, and what this park is. And I always find that it's interesting to look back to the beginning. Like I have a podcast, obviously. So if I listen to like those early episodes, I'm also like shaking my head like, yep, and I made it as truthful and authentic as possible because I wanted that part of the story, the overall story arc, to show itself. And I mean, we all have been in those positions for sure.
Yeah. And you definitely, it's definitely a learning experience, and you change, and it's like, of course it's like, you don't know what's going to happen, like as it's all happening. But I went and did that with my best friend, and he and I will bring it up sometimes, and we just laugh about it now. But at the time, like, yes. But
so let me back up a little bit here before we move forward. So that was your second hike. So the first hike was Marcy, and then your second hike was the Lower Great Range with Sawteeth. So Sawteeth, Gothics, Armstrong, Upper and Lower Wolfjaw. So at what point did you say, you're trying to hike the high peaks right now, which we know. Was there a point where you said, I want to do, because you did them in a year, which is what is super impressive considering how far away, it's super impressive period, but like the fact that you're 6 hours away is fantastic and amazing. So at what point did you say like, this is my goal, I have to accomplish this is what I'm going for, because you're so far away? So when did that kind of decision, when was that made?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that at the beginning, but I think it was like, a little bit after the Marcy hike, and like knowing how much time I get off from work, I was like, I think that this is going to be my new love, like filling that gap from not having those baseball dreams anymore. This is going to be my new love, and I would love it to finish my birthday at the end of October in 2019.
Okay, so that's where those dates and wanting to do that came. Also, real quick, I'm also a baseball guy. What's your team?
I like the
Of
Yankees. I
course,
know
of
you
course
like
you
the
do. Yeah,
Mets,
I'm a
but
big Mets guy. Okay,
yeah,
I had to ask. Actually, I think I feel like I've seen you with a Yankee hat on.
yeah.
That makes
I
sense.
will say though, like ever since I started playing fantasy baseball, maybe like 6 years back, um, I'll still root for the Yankees, but I've grown to love players from all over the league. So
Sure.
it's crazy. Like I root for like however many players on different teams now. Like if they succeed, I'm happy for them
Yeah.
than anything. Like what the polar bear did, like that was just
Mm-hmm.
unreal. DeGrom is just Syndergaard terrifying. So
Yes.
I have
Yes.
much respect for a lot of the Mets players too. I'm one of the few Yankees fans that will say I don't hate the Mets.
Sure. Well, most
Yeah,
Yankee fans don't care about the Mets because there's never really been um, any sort of threat there. But
right.
yeah, big Mets fan though
Yeah,
myself. Cool. So basically, you decided you wanted to accomplish this goal by your next birthday. So
yeah,
definitely a lofty goal. And yeah, you said you work 4 days on, 4 days off. So that definitely allows you to have uh, the opportunity to really pencil in some trips for sure.
yeah.
So your first trip up was Mount Marcy.
Hmm.
Then your next trip, how far between the two trips was Marcy and then the lower Great Range?
About a month. So
Okay,
yeah, it
so that was
was.
a month between.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So then after the lower Great Range, which you hit all five of those peaks,
Hmm.
so what was so you went home, and
Yeah.
then what
Well,
was your next time coming up?
I wanted to. Well, that was my friend's first high peak experience too, and he's in incredible shape. He's always been in great shape. So I figured maybe like we'd be okay to hike the next day too. But we were both sore, and we both kind of felt really defeated too, and embarrassed that we had to go do that. And like since then, because the ranger even said too, like those don't count. So I've been asking other 46ers since that day, like, hey, did the lower Great Range count for me? So it was kind of like crap. Like I gotta go do those again. But
Wait, the Rangers said that they don't count because they walked you out?
yeah, she was joking, I
Okay,
think,
got it.
because it's just the thing. But
Yeah, no,
yeah, she
understood.
like yeah. Um, but we got back to our campsite, and there was like a whole bunch of. It was like it's a relatively big campsite, and it's like a first come first serve type one out in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
Um, and there was these guys there from Connecticut, and it looked like they were having the time of their lives. And like we woke up, my friend and I woke up and we just left, and he and I were actually just talking about it 2 weeks ago. Like, dang, we wish we stayed and hung out with those guys. We probably could have made lifelong friends out of it and met up with them and hiked a ton of them and stuff. Um, but yeah, we felt pretty defeated and went back home, and so all of that was really an awakening and realized like I really have to educate myself more, even more than I thought I would,
Hmm.
and it was then too, like because I like how I said I started getting really spiritual with those mountains, like where it was like you think this is all fun and games, like you gotta start to respect us, and I gained a ton of respect for those mountains after that.
Hmm. Sure.
But and that was when I started to say like I wanted to see what I was really capable of. Um, and I think it was then too, um, where like I know like this park is so beautiful and it offers so much, but I wanted to start to see more of the world, but I didn't want to go anywhere else or like take time off from work and go travel like say like I want to go to Iceland and here and there, but I didn't want to go there until I finished what I started with this.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm the
yeah.
same way. If I start something, I can't do anything else. I can't, I have to see it through until it's done. And then when it's done, I'll go on to the next thing. But I'm like, I get anxiety if I'm doing
Hmm.
something in the middle of something, and then I do something totally different. I can't
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah. So I was pretty, I was definitely shaken up a bit after all that. And I mean, I didn't know anything about winter gear. I didn't want to get into that. Figured I could use more time to get more educated. And then when April came around, and in Buffalo, we still get April, and it snowed like a day or two in May this year. But for the most part, the snow is like gone around April. And I was like, huh, I bet they're gone in the Adirondacks in April too.
I wish.
Yeah, I know. Um, so I researched and I heard that if I needed to go hike a high peak, then I would need micro spikes. I was like, all right, I'll get some micro spikes. I got those, and then my friend found out that I wanted to go, and was like, whoa, 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 hold on, you definitely need some snowshoes too. So he lent me his snowshoes. And then April 18th,